Hello and welcome to another episode of Day Tripadaz, where this week we continue a walk we started on a previous episode. You'll remember we took the southwest coast path from Teignmouth and we walked along some lovely beaches and saw some stunning scenery. So this week I thought we'd continue that journey as we head towards Goodrington, and we start from here in Torquay. So the sun is shining, people are out on the beaches enjoying the lovely weather, and even the fairs in town as we once again return to Torquay. And this week we're going to take what is a continuation of a previous programme where we walked from the town of Teignmouth along the coastline, along the south-west coast path here to Torquay. So I thought how fitting it would be then to continue our journey onwards a little bit further down the coastline. This week we'll be going from Torquay, passing through a place called Preston. We'll be going on to another place with a P called Paignton, and we'll end up on the footpath side of things at a resort called Goodrington. Our first location though is outside this building here, which is called the Grand Hotel. It was actually built in 1881 and there's still a restaurant in there called 1881. It only originally had something like 12 bedrooms, and over the years it expanded to nowadays what is something like over 10 times that number. And there was a bit of a fire there a few years ago which had to be put out, but the hotel still stands. And by the way, it's very close to the train station, which is just behind it, and so if you come in here by train, it's not very far to go and stop at the Grand Hotel. I do know also that in 1946 it was taken over, I believe, by the Royal Air Force, who turned it into something they were using which is more connected to what was happening during the war. So it's had a few historical changes over the years, but it still stands here. I also know it was the first hotel in Torquay to have central heating, so that's worth knowing if you come down here during the winter months. But our first port of call is that little place over there, which is a little headland jutting out just opposite the Grand Hotel. And it's at the centre of the location we've come to right now, called Corbin Head, that we find this National Home Guard memorial dedicated in 2005 to service people who were killed at this location on the 11th of August 1944. It's rather sad news there, and some names that are placed on this memorial. But it's very much a lovely day today. The sun is shining, you can see out to sea lots of boats, sailing boats, speed boats, and even the birds are happy. So there you go. And it's a good opportunity to have a look across some of the areas that we're in at the moment. You can see there Torquay with Torquay Harbour and the big wheel, which you'll always see, especially this time of the year. A little bit further on, because this is the direction we're going to be going into, our next port of call will be one of the many beaches we see on this trip today. We won't go as far as the end of the land over there, which is Brixham. Well, we've done that one, so you can check that episode out. Now we're going to end up in a place called Goodrington, which is a resort and has a really lovely beach, and we'll be seeing a few of those on this trip here as we come along today. Now I did think what a lovely day it would be to get the drone out and show you some lovely aerial footage of Torquay, but sadly my drone decided to take a swim this morning, and it's starting to tell me a little message. I've had 3 drones in fairly quick succession and I've lost all 3 of them, so maybe I shouldn't be doing them, but I think if I'm going to carry on doing these I'm probably going to have to invest in my 4th one, and we'll wonder where that one gets lost to. But we'll start our first journey on the coast path here over past the Livermead Cliff Hotel, and you can see another brand new building that's been put up there in the background. We'll head that direction there as we head over towards Hollicombe Beach. So we're off under our little journey towards our first beach that we're going to venture onto. Now unfortunately, to get to it, this first part of our journey, you have to take this rather busy main road, but the good news is once you've got over the brow of the hill which comes out of Torquay and into Paignton, you very shortly turn off onto the coast path again, which is really what this one is all about. Anyone who actually knows this area will probably remember it as the Gasworks Beach, because in that direction over there, raise my camera, there used to be quite famously the landmarks of old gasworks, but as you can see we are able now to come off this rather busy main road and head down towards our first beach, and rather pleasantly we're greeted with a really nice little park just to get the this part of the journey underway. And I know shortly we'll be going over or going under rather a railway crossing which will take us right down onto the beach. So here we are at Hollicombe. Now this is a railway bridge, and it's still I believe active to this very day, and if you're very lucky just occasionally you'll catch a steam train which ventures along this particular journey, but we're going underneath it right now to get to the beach. And as we emerge at the other side of that little tunnel, we find that the tide is coming in quite nicely, and somewhere out there is my drone. I don't think we're going to be able to capture that one today, but this gives us a nice little look around here. And this is one of my favourite beaches because whilst, as you can see, there's a few people around here today, because it's a little bit outside of Torquay, it does tend to be a little bit less populated than the main ones as part of the main seafront over there, but it's still nonetheless very lovely, and it's sandy, and you get a beautiful view across the bay here. And once again there's Torquay on that direction. Paignton we'll be heading to shortly, and you can see all the way over there to Brixham. And so as the train crosses over that very bridge that we've just walked under, as we leave Hollicombe Beach and walk through this lovely park, I'm happy to say that the next part of our journey does not require us going back onto that busy main road, so we can happily stroll along this coastline now through a dedicated path aimed at us, and always part of the south coast walk path, which takes us over to our next location, and that's going to be a place called Preston Sands. And I'm pretty certain along the way we'll get some lovely views of the bay here in Torquay. And as promised, we're very quickly greeted by some lovely views here on the coast path, and there's the the railway track that we saw the train going past just now, and the bridge from where we walked under. And this is a bridge which we walk all over. Have a look down the other side. Nothing coming here. So I have known steam trains to come along this path, I think on this tracks rather, on special occasions, of which maybe today is not one of them. But minus my drone, I'll try and give you as good a view as you possibly can get. And so, who needs a drone? So the footpath advises us to go slowly, but I've no intention of doing anything other than that as we come to our next location, which is Preston Sands. And before us you can see all the little beach huts, all nicely painted, enjoying the summer season. No doubt they're all quite full up with their occupants at the moment. They're very expensive to get these beach huts, I believe. So a little bit out of my portion. The other thing is, if you have a beach hut, you're kind of fixed to where you're going to go, really, and it's I think it's quite nice to get out and go to various locations. So we get a pretty good view now across Preston Sands, which is this little bit here, and there in the distance we can see the Paignton Pier. So as you can see, Paignton Beach itself is not very far away, and we'll be heading there very shortly. And so it isn't just the beach you can enjoy here at Preston Sands, as we continue watching the beach huts spread out into the distance. There's a lovely green area which you can come and recreate if you want, but I guess its main draw is going to be the actual beach area itself. So let's wind our way past the shelter there, where you can enjoy nice ice cream. Some people are doing just that today, all having a really good time. A little bit windy today, but that's actually good news for all those sailing boats who look to be out there having some sort of race today. And this stretch of the beach is really the start of what is Paignton, which is just over there. So it really is a very nice day and perfect to be beside the seaside. And it's this rather ornate and rather grandeur building here, which looks a bit castle-like. It's actually a hotel, which separates where we've just come from at Preston Sands along the beach to where we're heading to next, which is into Paignton. And the first thing we're greeted is with a big top. In fact, the circus is in town, but there's more than that. I'll show you that around the corner in a minute. It's not just the circus that's here. But the other imposing thing that you'll see on the beach here at Paignton, of course, is the pier. And that's a pier we went on earlier in the year because we had a look at the Riviera air show when we were down here. This pier was built in 1879. It's apparently 780 feet long, and when it was opened it would have had a grand sort of theatre type building at the end of it, which would have been used for entertainments, etc. But actually it doubled up in those days as a platform for catching steamboats, which would take you out on various tourist trips. So there'd be like paddle steamers back in the day, sort of coming into the Victorian age, I guess, and back in the day of Bruno and steam trains and all sorts of things like that. So a very inventive time of life. And we get a lovely view across here of Torquay as well. But we're going to head up there towards the promenade, and there's quite a bit going on there today. So almost 150 years after it was first opened, the pier at Paignton continues to this very day, nowadays providing much more in the way of amusement arcades, slot machines, games. I think there might be one of those little go-kart races at the end of it. As I've said, if you'd like to look back at a previous episode we did where we had the Paignton air show, the Riviera air show, we did take a stroll along the pier, so if you want to investigate that one, please do. But I'd like to bring you now to the road, which stretches really from one end of Paignton Beach past a big building up there, I'll tell you about that in a moment, to the other end, which then takes you over towards Preston. This road, which runs alongside the promenade, I'm told is exactly 1 mile long, and the person who told me that is someone who trained for the London Marathon, and in the build-up to actually doing that, which I think is 26 miles long, because it's exactly 1 mile along this road, he would come along here and gradually build up the number of lengths of the promenade road he did, so that by the time he got up to London to do the marathon itself, he was prepared for the 26 miles run. So quite clever really, and it's all flat, so it's quite nice, like you do. One thing Paignton has very much in its favour is a huge green, which itself runs the full length of that promenade road, so therefore will be 1 mile. And today there's a lot going on. The big top is from Circus Extreme, and I don't know how extreme that place gets, but that's here, and you can probably hear in the background now some noise, some music. Don't really know what the music is, but as well as Torquay having the fair in town, so does Paignton. So it's all going on here.
Hello.
Hiya.
You doing your vlog?
Day trip at Daz.
Right, you do get a consolation prize. That's any of these rooms here or any prize in there. You can have any one of those.
So leaving some of the hectic rides of a modern fun fair, we come back to something a little bit more traditional here, as we see a carousel as we continue our stroll along the esplanade here in Paignton. And that's looking rather grand, isn't it? And talking of grand, the building right next to me is nowadays a restaurant, bars I think, and is home to a pretty large cinema, as you can see here along the road here. But it wasn't always thus. This building, which was first built in 1967, was first known as the Festival Theatre, and was built roughly the same time as a theatre that it was in direct competition with, which was back in Torquay, called the Princess Theatre. So as I say, today it's very much a multi-plex cinema, and probably gets bigger audiences now than it might have done when it was a theatre. But I actually do have some memories of playing here, because many years ago when I was a bit younger, I used to play in a brass band, and those days we used to sometimes get to play here in the theatre, and that's given me some fond memories of this little place here. We're going to take a little excursion now as we climb over this sort of central bit here between the theatre and the busy main road, and we'll try not to get run over. I just want to give you a little detour up the main street here in Paignton, just to give you a little taste of what you might expect if you come to this particular seaside resort. And to be honest, you're gonna get exactly what you think you're gonna get. So it's going to have amusement arcades, it's going to have lots of gift shops selling junky stuff, I think. You'll be able to buy ice creams here, and of course there will be fish and chip shops, though the most famous one, which is at the very end of this road here, burnt down a few years ago, so I don't know if they've rebuilt it. But it is the first of our amusement arcades. Somebody falling over there on the pavement. Hope he hasn't had too much to drink. Oh yeah, plenty of bars here, the ubiquitous Wetherspoons, so if you fancy a cheap pint, there'll be plenty of opportunity for that there. Everything slows down a bit. There's your ice creams. You get coffee and cone, Devon and Cornish flavours of luxury ice creams. That's nice. This is what I was talking to you about, the gift shops. Selling, I don't know what. I mean, the thing is, you buy this stuff now you're on holiday. Do you know, I had one of those as a kid? It's like a little drum. You just wave it in the air and it makes a drum noise. Yeah, you buy this stuff here when you're on holiday. Here's your Wetherspoons. I suppose you've got to ask yourself the question, once you get the stuff home, oh, what are you going to do with it? I mean, what's it going to do? It's going to sit in a drawer. No, I know what you'll do. You put it on the mantelpiece, or you'll hang it up on the wall, like you're living in one of those houses in Coronation Street or something. And then it'll just sit there. It'll act as a reminder of your lovely time down here when you came down to Paignton. But we're just going to make a little stroll a little bit up here. When we filmed the episode with the Red Arrows, which was the air show, we stopped in here, I think it is. Is it? Yeah, this is the one we stopped in at Henry's Bar. And we were greeted by a very friendly lady who served us, I think it was a pint of Stella or something like that one there. So that gives you a little view, I think, of the main sort of touristy high street here in Paignton. Just at the end of this road is a railway station. There's also the bus station, and you can catch a steam train down to a place called Kingswear, which would take you to a place which is right opposite where we went to last week, which was a place called Dartmouth at the end of a trail that we walked. And talking of that, I've got some breaking news for you, which I'll let you know once I get away from this rather busy high street in town. So I guess every seaside resort has to have its crazy golf building, and Paignton's no exception, especially on a lovely day like this. And there's actually a lot to do here in Paignton, and well, I mean, we haven't even mentioned what's going on out to sea today. Obviously people are down on the beach enjoying the nice weather, but there are sailing boats. We saw some yachts out to sea just now. I think they've moved over towards the Torquay side a bit now, but yeah, there's people out there on those stand-up paddle boat type of things, which is very nice. We're coming now towards the end of this promenade, the esplanade here at Paignton. What you will see, we get past all the parked cars here and the end of the cinema that used to be the theatre, you'll see dotted, as you'd expect, all along the seafront, tons of hotels where you can stay at and not have to walk too far to come out and enjoy the seafront area. So, what was the breaking news I have for you? Well, if you remember, when we were in Dartmouth, I said to you I was ever so close to my 100th subscriber. But I hadn't quite made it there, but I was hopeful that by the time we make the next episode, I would have hit that 100. I also did say that I know a lot of you will be completely unimpressed by the number 100, because so many people out there on YouTube who are vloggers or in the thousands, tens of thousands. I've even seen Hashtag Brady, who's just reached his 1 million. So well done to him, congratulations. But as I said in the previous episode, each and every one of them had to get to their first 100 first. And that actually, you know, I think is quite an achievement. I'm quite proud of it. We've only been doing this now for about 4 months. And in the very first episode that I was making back in Plymouth, I did ask, I begged, if I could just have 1 subscriber, I'd be well chuffed. So to hit the 100, I'm happy. I won't bombard you with this statistic every time we reach a new landmark, but I just thought the 100 was just worth mentioning. Okay, right, we are going to move on now to a place, unlike its sister over in Torquay, does not have a huge harbour, but it does have one here in Paignton, and that's the direction of travel we're going over to next. So yes, this is a slightly smaller harbour than you'll see over at Torquay, but pretty picturesque, I think, nonetheless. Little bit of advice from the local authorities here: no alcohol or other intoxicants are permitted on this site, so we won't stay here too long, I don't think. We do get a lovely chance to look across the bay from this particular part of Paignton back to where we've just come, as we start now looking forward to what is the final leg of our journey, which will be to a place called Goodrington. And we're going to be venturing along. We're going to have to go back onto a bit of a road for just a very short while. It doesn't take very long at all. Then we come back off the main road, and then we get onto the more sort of seaside track, if you like. So that's where we're heading to now. This brings us very much to the end of the Paignton side of things. I'm told this is called Fairy Cove. Well, I think that's Fairy Cove over there. This is Paignton Harbour. So we're going to head along this little road here now as we head towards Goodrington. And so, as the name tells us, we are now in Roundham Gardens, and very much back off the main road and back onto the coast path that takes us to our next destination. And as always, when you get coastal paths, unlike a journey we did fairly recently where we were inland and on country lanes, and all we could see was hedges, very much the story of this particular trip is the views. And I don't want to bore you with it. I know you've seen these views quite a bit actually today, and maybe on previous episodes. But this is what it's all about, isn't it? Isn't this what you come for? Isn't this what you come to see? You come to see the sea, but you come to see everything else that goes along with it. So it's pretty beautiful, isn't it? Quite lovely. And especially on a day like this, when the sea is really calm. It looks good enough to swim in, actually. I'm not going to do that today. Last time I went swimming with my GoPro, I forgot to put the side bit on the GoPro, and effectively the camera drowned, which wasn't very clever. I'm telling you this on the day when I actually then drowned my drone. So overall, you may not want to leave me in charge of anything that has any kind of technology involved in it. But this GoPro is still going, I think. And that takes us now on to the next and final part of our walk today, as we go along Roundham Gardens. Just over the brow of this hill will take us into a labyrinth of paving paths. And this is about, the top of this hill is the highest part of our journey today. It's been very much more gentle than some of the journeys I've taken of late. This one's easy. This one's, you really aren't going to encounter too many big hills. There's a few. It's Devon, for heaven's sake. You're going to get some hills. But this one is much easier than some of them. But this will be the highest point that we'll reach today. Being such a nice sunny, warm day, I'm probably quite pleased about that. But the path that takes us down to Preston Sands itself will give you a few questions to answer. Which path do I take next? And so that's it. We've reached the highest point. Funny that, we were talking about hedges just now, and all of a sudden we've come across a few. Block the view there. These bushes are nice, but I don't think there's any fuchsia in that. Anyway, let's move on. So I mentioned to you about the footpaths now. This is where it becomes a bit of a dilemma. Still get a glimpse of the nice views around here. But the first dilemma is, do you take the high path, which is that one there, and that will split up into several different routes, or do you take the lower one, and that too will split up into several different routes? But we're going to pick this one, no particular reason. It's a bit random, and then we'll soon come to our first fork in the road, and we have to make a decision. So here is our first choice, and to be honest, you know, there's no signpost here. Which route are you going to take? Now that one there looks to me like it's going very much back uphill, so I don't think we want to do that. I think from experience, to be honest, I think if you take any of these pavements, any of these paths, I think, to be honest, you're going to get to the same location anyway. But you'll have to decide whether I'm telling the truth or not if you come here, because, you know, I don't want to lead you astray. But I'm definitely going to do this one. These look to be going uphill, and they split off into two parts, even if you go in that direction. So, let us go this way. And so it isn't long before we come to another choice and another split in the road. But I've kind of made the conscious decision today. We could go that way, looks to be going upwards a bit. There's another path there, another two paths there. But I'm going to carry on this way. There's another one there. We could take that one there, but I think you can see we are very much getting closer to the water's edge here. So I think this really can't go wrong. Can it? And there in the distance is a steam engine carrying some Great Western carriages, and I think that will be heading off towards Kingswear, which is the town which is opposite Dartmouth. We were there last week. Plenty of black smoke coming out of there. I'm not too sure the Green Lobby would be too happy with that sight. Just don't tell Ed Miliband. And if you don't know who Ed Miliband is, well done. Good. Okay, look, I think we made the right choice. You couldn't really go wrong. That's where we started, at the top of that cliff there. Worked our way down. Just tons of paths that you can use to get down to this part of the town. And once again, we're greeted by, as we saw in another location, lots of these lovely beach huts. So this seafront now, look at the colour of the water today. Ignore the black smoke from the steam train. Look at the colour of the water. It's looking lovely, isn't it? Some really nice cliff paths around here. Lots of nice trees to see here. Like you do. Doggies enjoying the water. Hello. Yeah, so we are now heading in towards Goodrington, which is the final location that we're going to do today. As I say, it's a little bit of a shorter walk than previous ones we've done. But hey, as I celebrate my 100th subscriber, if I can say the word, I think I deserved a break today, you know, something a little more gentle. When you get to my age, 42-ish, you know, you've got to take things easy a bit. I think everyone else is taking things rather easy today along this little bit by the sea, and the beach is starting to fill up over there, so that's very nice. So we're going to head over there now to Goodrington itself, and there's a few things going on there as well. Well, as well as being a very beautiful day today, it's also been one of dilemmas, which direction to take. And we're faced with another one now. There's the sands as they head off into the distance. We will be heading down that way shortly, but I thought at this point, as we pass the ice cream parlour, we take a little detour off the beachy area and just tell you what lies behind here, because it's not just beach and ice creams you get here. You'll find that this takes you into a rather nice little park, and plenty of places for children to play. Of course, you'd expect that one there. And there's a cantina here. There's a very nice smell from somewhere of what smells to me like hot dogs. I can smell the onions, actually. It's probably what I'm actually smelling, isn't it? That'll be the smell you do. But yeah, this takes us down to a little boating lake, and as you can see, people are spinning around on the water, having a pretty good time. And it's got a nice just little area just to walk around here. Of course, in the distance, once again, crazy golf. What would British seasides be like without that? So we leave the lake behind us now and come back onto the seafront, back onto the sands here at Goodrington, and we head on to the final part of our journey. If you did want to stay here, by the way, they've actually got a hotel, so that's nice. A couple of years ago, if you remember Tony, who joined us on the last episode, as we headed towards Dartmouth, and on a few other episodes prior to that, we came down on a cycle ride. It's very much a toss of a coin today whether I did a cycle ride instead of walking this distance, but I I just thought, in light of the fact we did the walk from the previous location, that it just kind of fitted as well. And everyone's really enjoying today's day, and what lovely weather we've had. Here we go, yet another view. You've seen this a few times now, but I don't think you can get enough of it, can you? There's a lovely pub here called the Inn on the Quay, and I've stopped here when Tony and I came and did our little cycle route down here. We stopped and had a pint here, or was it more than one? Not too sure about that. Well, never mind, you can have as many as you want. On this particular occasion, it might surprise you, I'm going to walk straight past a pub. Have I ever done that before? Not too sure. Anyway, this finally brings us into the resort itself, and as you can see, more beach huts ahead of us, more people sat outside the pub, and just in the distance you can see there a place called Key West, which is a place with those water slides in it, and you can go in there. And the only thing I don't like about that is every time I've ever been in there, and I've been in there a few times, going back a bit to be honest, it always has long queues to get to the top of the slides before you can use them, and then you have to queue up for the next one, and I'm a little bit impatient, I'm afraid, so that's not always something I want to do. But I tell you what, people are loving up there. It's absolutely packed. I can see from here it really is busy. So yeah, you've seen Brewers Fair there, the Inn on the Quay. We come down to the main beach at Goodrington now, looking across the sea over towards Brixham in that direction. And there's a few other places you can enjoy while you're here. There's a Sunrise Beach store. They're going to sell you hats and all sorts of things. You probably get your postcards from here as well. More ice creams, coffee shops, more ice cream, more little fast food takeaway sorts of things. And yeah, pretty busy here. To be honest, once you get inside the Key West Resort, which is the one with the water slides you can see in the background, they've got this rather nice area where you can, looks like you can dine and have a drink, and that looks like something you might find somewhere in Benidorm. And if you've got children and you don't quite fancy those big slides at the top, they've got a very much smaller version of it down the bottom called the Cannon Falls, and that might be something a bit more appropriate. And so it's the site of yet another endless row of beach huts that brings us pretty much to the end of today's episode and our journey along the coastline here in Torquay on the English Riviera. I very much hope you've enjoyed the things we've seen. It was very much a continuation of the previous episode we did, and that's why I decided to make the walking journey today. But it's been an absolutely lovely day today, and the sun's been shining, and there's a few clouds in the sky, but that's looking pretty nice, isn't it? So look, if you have enjoyed this, please add to my now 100 subscribers by yourself pressing the subscribe button. Give me a like, and if you can give me a little comment as well. I always try to answer everybody. If anyone sent me a comment, you'll know that I always try to get round to putting something down to respond. So thank you very much for that. So that's the end of the episode. As we say goodbye to Goodrington Beach, I'll see you once again on the next episode. Bye.